Welcome back, Patriots, for another episode of the Bald Brad Show. It is officially Tuesday, October 1st, meaning we are really just about 4 weeks out from the election. Hell, the election's already started, to be quite frank. The election is currently taking place in various states with early voting. So make sure you get your vote in, folks. We do have a different camera set up today, slightly different. So we'll see how it works out. It's Jimmy rigged, folks. Let me tell you. Oh, it's Jimmy rigged. I saw MacGyver and what that man could do with duct tape. Well, I MacGyvered the shit out of this episode today to get the camera going, folks. With that being said, hit that like button. We need your support, and we're jumping right in the news because we got a lot of stuff to cover. We have a few clips that we weren't able to get to yesterday, and the first one has to do with Scott Jennings. He's a godsend. The guy comes down from the heavens and plops right into CNN's seat and just smacks them all over day in and day out. So here's Scott Jennings doing the Lord's work.
Well, first of all, I don't find them to be consequential. Second of all, Walz is a buffoon. I'm sorry. This guy, he's the only school teacher in America who brags that none of his students can get into an Ivy League school. He's had one consequential press interaction with our Dana Bash, who asked him about the fabrications in his own resume, and his answer was essentially, me no understand words good. I mean, he's a...
Yes,
buffoon. He's on a free ride for running under Harris. He gets very little press. They don't let him talk to the press for a reason. I want one thing out of this debate. I want J.D. Vance to go out there and get under his skin. He has legendary hot, short temper. A lot of governors do, but apparently he does. I want J.D. Vance to go out there and have him explain why he is denigrating J.D. Vance's story. Small town America ends up making something better out of his life, which is something we should want for every kid. Well, first of all,
I don't know how these people on CNN defend not JD Vance. They defend Tim Walz and Kamala Harris. I don't get it. Like, wouldn't you want things to get fixed, things to be better in this country? And for some ungodly reason, it seems as if they don't. Maybe it's because they need the ratings and they need the conundrum to take place. Well, here's another person talking about how Tim Walz has been a complete disaster in Minnesota, but don't worry, folks, that trend isn't going to carry over to the federal government. No.
Yeah, Tim's been a complete disaster in Minnesota, and what's happened is he's so good at being this folksy, nice, kind of down-to-earth guy until people get to know him and his policies. I don't know if you know this, but his old congressional district, where he played this character for several years of being kind of a folksy, ag-friendly outdoorsman, he lost it in both of his gubernatorial races. In the last one, almost by 10 points. He's not well-liked because once you get to know the real Tim Walz, he's like Gavin Newsom in a flannel shirt.
There you go. Couldn't have said more truer words myself, my friend. And you want to know who's not going to tell you truer words is, Kamala Harris's surrogates, her mouthpieces. And you know what? It makes sense why they would go on the airwaves and lie, because that's what she does. So here's one of her spokesmen, an intern, spewed a bunch of garbage.
What was your personal reaction when you heard that CBS News is forbidding the moderators of tomorrow night's debate from doing any fact-checking?
Well, look, unfortunately, CBS is in a tough spot because if they allowed that, it would mean that their moderators were fact-checking all night, given J.D. Vance and the lies that he is going to spew on stage. But what I will say is that it's unfortunate that we have to have conversations like this because of the type of lying and discord that Donald Trump and J.D. Vance bring to our political system. But I think that Governor Walz is going to be prepared not only to hold J.D. Vance accountable for the lies that he continues to spew while he is doubling down on Donald Trump's divisive agenda, he is also going to be prepared to talk about his vision for this country alongside Vice President Harris to usher in a new way forward that all Americans can not just get by, but to get ahead. And so Governor Walz will be ready.
We're not done yet. Oh, God. Couldn't name a single lie, but don't worry, they're there. And Tim Walz's vision for America. What is it? Still waiting. We're going to fix the economy, but it's not broken. We're going to fix the immigration system, but it's not broken. We didn't cause any of this. Sure.
So, for example, if J.D. Vance were simply to say, we have a plan for health care, that is actually a lie. And according to Donald Trump, it's a lie. Donald Trump said in the last debate, he said they have a concept of a plan, which, of course, we have no idea what that is.
Folks, I apologize. This is MSNBC.
Well, look, I think that what Governor Walz is going to be prepared to say, and what Governor Walz likely will say, is that, look, they've been telling us what they're going to do when it comes to health care. And today our campaign put out exactly what that means.
It's amazing they're going to bring up that one line of, I have a concept of an idea. Notice they don't bring up, I know I repeat myself, they don't bring up anything here in terms of the missing children, the massive invasion, the 13,000+ murderers in this country. Democrats, listen carefully. No, come here. Listen carefully, Democrats. Yes, murderers. These aren't people that may have murdered somebody. These are convicted murders in the country that Kamala Harris, the Democrat Party, along with Joe Biden, allowed to enter in. And it's your doing, Democrats, for allowing this to take place because you wanted sanctuary cities. You wanted the right to shelter states. You wanted open borders, all this stuff. And now they're murdering our children. They're murdering families and women and men and raping little girls and people's wives, and all this stuff's taking place. Well, they're going to keep voting for it, folks. Don't worry, I got some election news for you as well, because the foozery's begun big time. Big time. And I know you know that. We called it out many months ago. Well, because there's the vice presidential debate taking place tonight, and we will be live for that, folks, now that we got our camera working as well. Hell, we would have been live for it even without a camera. Democrats running for North Carolina governor, torched for schmoozing with PA Governor while his state suffers. There's a constant theme here with Democrats of, smoozing each other rather than taking care of the constituents that voted for them. North Carolina State Attorney General, Democrat Josh Stein, now running for governor, was torched for schmoozing with Democrat Governor of Pennsylvania, Josh Shapiro, who's a psycho, right? This is the guy that says children should be able to read porn. While his state suffers after Hurricane Helen ravaged large portions of the area. We'll get to it because that's really the news today. Where's Joe? Where's Kamala? Where are you guys? Why is Trump, who's not even president, down there dealing with the victims of the hurricane, while Joe Biden is just kicking his little feet in Delaware? Not really in the Oval Office. Same thing. To him, it's the same thing. You don't know where the hell he's at. In a post, you think they sat there and makeshift his residency to look a little bit like Delaware so he doesn't know that he's not in Delaware? You know, just a few wallpapers will confuse him. In a post shared on X on Sunday, this representative Kathy posted a picture here with Stein and Josh Shapiro at a campaign event in North Carolina after parts of the North and Southern Carolina were completely destroyed. They're underwater, but don't worry, they're having a good time. They're having a good time while you're canoeing through your living room. Lovely. Oh, lovely. Not a care in the world. Not a damn care in the world or thought in the head. So that's taking place. You also have the House panel subpoenas DHS chief over Walz links to China one day before VP debate. I love the timing of this. The House Oversight Committee subpoenaed Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas. I mean, how many times has that guy's been subpoenaed? How the hell does he still have a job? Alejandro Mayorkas allowed criminals, terrorists, drug cartel, like everything to enter through our southern border, and somehow he still has a job. For records on ties that Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, the Democratic Party's vice presidential nominee, has to the Chinese Communist Party. Who did that sound a lot like? I don't know, maybe the alleged money laundering taking place allegedly by the Biden family, corruption allegedly. I'm throwing a lot of allegedlys out there so I don't get sued. Coming from Romania, Ukraine, China, like millions, by the way, millions. It's not like here's $10,000, $5,000. No, millions flowing into Joe Biden's brother's bank account, his son Hunter Biden's bank account, all these shell companies taking place. Remember, Joe Biden hasn't done shit his entire life other than suckle at the government teat, very similar to Bernie Sanders, and somehow they're millionaires. Somehow they have all these houses. Somehow their wealth has just accumulated beyond belief. Weird. In the same way, this guy, allegedly, there's a non-classified Microsoft Teams group chat among DHS employees titled NST NFT Biweekly Sync that contains information about Governor Walz is relevant to the committee's investigation. So they're looking under the hood on this stuff, folks. We'll see what happens with Tim Walz, but it wouldn't surprise me if he's in bed with the Chinese, because the Chinese love the Democrat Party. Oh, do they love them. Big time. Now, you got to be wondering, where's Joe? Where's Kamala? Where's the people's governors, congressmen, congresswomen down there where the hurricane ravaged? So Trump went to Georgia. Salute you, sir. Thank you for putting Americans first, unlike Democrats. Democrats will put everybody else in the world other than the people they're actually supposed to be representing. Donald Trump, not even president, basically just a citizen right now, goes to Georgia and walks amongst Americans, the people, starts a GoFundMe, talks to them, brings them gasoline, brings them goods and services that only he can get at the level of which he's at, because guess what? He's not president. Joe Biden's president. Oh, we'll get there. Don't worry. I don't want to jump the gun here, but former President Donald Trump visited Georgia on Monday in the aftermath of Hurricane Helen, and he called for everyone to set politics aside as much of the southern eastern United States recovers from damages wrought by high winds, devastating floods, and debris flows. Folks, they got destroyed. So here's Donald Trump down there at the site. Again, where's the Democrats? Nowhere to be found.
The country is in the final weeks of a hard-fought national election. But in a time like this, when a crisis hits, when our fellow citizens cry out in need, none of that matters. We're not talking about politics now. We have to all get together and get this solved. We need a lot of help. They have to have a lot of help down here. We look out for one another. We pull together. We pitch in. We persevere, and we pull it through. That is really the American spirit. That's what made America originally great. And that's why today I've come to Valdosta with large semi-trucks, many of them, filled with relief aid, and a tanker truck filled up with gasoline. We have a couple of the big tanker trucks filled up with gasoline, which they can't get now. And we'll be working to distribute it throughout the day. And I want to thank again Franklin Graham and everyone at Samaritan's Purse. You people are fantastic, by the way, just fantastic. And people.
Do you notice he always calls out people when he's at rallies for their hard work, the things that they're doing well on, and then he also calls people out for not doing their job well, like Joe Biden, like Kamala Harris, like Alejandro Mayorkas, like John Kirby, like Karine Jean-Pierre, like Anthony Blinken. It's remarkable. Like AOC, like Ilhan Omar, like Rashida Tlaib. It's astonishing. Like Chuck Schumer, like Nancy Pelosi, like Gavin Newsom, like Tim Walz. It's astonishing that you could sit there and just call these people out off the top of your head without a thought. So Donald Trump goes down there because that's what a president looks like, you guys. That's what it's amazing how he also went to East Palestine, Ohio. Remember that there was that train derailment that put toxins into the sky, and then it fell into the water supply and all the vegetation? Nothing. Where was Joe? Nowhere. For years, nowhere. Donald Trump shows up to East Palestine, Ohio. Hurricane, specifically Helen, because there's going to be more, shows up to Georgia. Offers relief. Gasoline people can't get. Anybody knows when there's a hurricane, it's like one of the toughest commodities to get. Brings oil tankers in. Joe's sitting there in the Oval Office, drooling into a drip tray. So Trump jabs at Biden's poor response to Hurricane Helen, and rightfully so. I think he's sleeping right now, actually. Yes, Mr. President, he probably is. It seems like a joke, but it's really not. Depending on what hours of the day this is, Joe could very well be sleeping. Yes.
And have you reached out to President Biden about federal relief efforts?
No, I haven't reached out to him. No, I think he's sleeping right now, actually.
Here's the thing. If you look at Trump's face, he's not smirking or laughing. It's probably the case. This is who Democrats vote for, a president that's nowhere to be found. Nowhere to be found. Donald Trump shows up on site, is walking around, displaying what's going on. How can we fix this? He doesn't have the entire federal government behind him.
The governor's doing a very good job. He's having a hard time getting the president on the phone. I guess they're not being responsive. The federal government is not being responsive. but they're having a very hard time getting the president on the phone. He won't get on, and of course the vice president, she's out someplace campaigning, looking for money. So they have to be focused over here. It's too big. This is a really bad one. And the governor's doing a good job, but he's having a hard time getting the president on the phone. They're being very non-responsive. We're also going to be talking with North Carolina. We're trying to get them hooked up with communication. They're totally closed right now. North Carolina has really been hit hard. Really, really been hit hard. The hardest, and we can't even get in there right now. And there are a lot of people that have been injured or worse. Very bad. North Carolina. We're working with the people in North Carolina now to get them hooked up for communication. And in the meantime, we're at Valdosta, and we're with the mayor and congressman and everybody else. We've brought a lot of supplies. We're with Franklin Graham, who's been always fantastic in these cases. Nobody better. He does with Samaritan's Purse. He's done an unbelievable job. And how is it going?
It's a little hard to hear, but he's talking about the volunteers and kind of the work that they've really carried out. I can't emphasize this enough. Donald Trump is just a citizen, just like you and I. Granted, he has a lot of connections. A lot of people want to donate. He started a GoFundMe. But again, where's Joe? Joe, where you at, buddy? You sleeping? Do you need to be woken up? It's frustrating to me. And we'll get to where Joe's at. Oh, don't worry. Now, if you heard in Donald Trump's message there to the press, because again, he's the only one that talks to them. Kamala Harris won't do it. Joe Biden, hell, he can't be found. Don't worry, we have clips of that. No, I'm jumping ahead, but don't worry, we'll get there, folks. We got a lot of stuff prepared, a lot of stuff. Just like Donald Trump has a lot of stuff prepared for people in Georgia and North Carolina. Trump says Musk providing Starlink to areas impacted by hurricane. Calls him up, hey, Muskie. I know I need you to sit there and chisel away at the government spending, but I also need Starlink. And they send in Starlink. So, former President Donald Trump said Monday that he has spoken with Elon Musk about getting Starlink set up in areas impacted by the flood. Trump made the remarks about the efforts from Musk. Notice there's no call to Musk from Joe Biden. Did you guys notice all this? I know you do, patriots, but I'm mostly talking to the Democrats and liberals that somehow weaseled their way in here. You notice that our president, Joe Biden, isn't doing anything? He says he is. Oh, we'll get that. Oh, we can only do so much relief. We've given it everything we have. And there's people, boots on the ground, going, never seen the guy. Haven't seen any federal response already. Like, it's not like you knew the hurricane wasn't coming. You know what I mean? Like, this is just like, holy crap, where did this thing come from? It's been on the news for a while. Yeah, you could have, like, planned in the areas of which it's not going to sit there and happen, and then have everything flooding in. Get the cameras out there, the brigade, the caravan of cars and gasoline tankers flying in. You know what I mean? Completely baffled. Where'd this hurricane come from? Wake up, Joe! Kamala, wake up! Hello! Homes, hospitals, highways, and cars have been plunged underwater, Trump said. Entire neighborhoods have been turned into lakes. Nobody's seen anything like it. And every family that's been displaced here in Georgia and North Carolina, which has really been hit, we're going there also. They don't have communication. They don't have anything right now. And so Donald Trump is sitting there trying to get things going, trying to get things moving. So here's that clip again.
Homes, hospitals, highways, and cars have been plunged underwater. Entire neighborhoods have been turned into lakes. Nobody's seen anything like it. And to every family that's been displaced here in Georgia and North Carolina, which has really been hit. We were going there also, and they don't have communication. They don't have anything right now. We're trying to. I just spoke to Elon. I'm getting him. We want to get Starlink hooked up because they have no communication whatsoever. And Elon will always come through. We know that. And so we're working on that, getting them hooked up. They asked me whether or not that would be possible. And we're going to try and get the Starlink in there as soon as possible because they have no communication. And throughout the region, our hearts are with you, and we are going to be with you as long as you need. It's called an hour of need. You're in our prayers, and we pray to God, and throughout this long weeks, the long weeks that lay ahead. You're going to have a lot of work, but the end result is it's going to be good. We just wish so many people weren't so badly hurt, and in many cases, sadly, no longer with us.
I mean, sheer devastation. Good on President Trump for making his way down there. And it's not just all of us that see this, by the way, like Joe's not there or Kamala's not there. No response, right? Well, it's also Fox News and others that see this.
This is what leaders do. And in the end, this is what Trump has done. Trump was there first. He endears this sense of confidence. He's going to fight for us. And we've seen this is a pattern of behavior by Biden and by Harris, where whether it's Maui, where they give $700 to each resident, but if it's Ukraine, they're on the ground with another $10 billion, whatever they need. East Palestine, who's there? Donald Trump with pizza and water. They show up a year later. This is about leadership. It's not about being embarrassed into having to show up somewhere. And, congratulations, you went to FEMA. You've got to go to the people. You've got to go to the people who can't see this. Because I've been in a flood. We lost our house in a flood. We thought there was no future. We didn't have insurance. We lost everything. You rely on the Red Cross for food, the Army Corps of Engineers to make sure that you can drive and that you can go across the bridge. I mean, there's so much more than going to FEMA and making a political statement.
Well, it makes sense, Judge, why she went to FEMA. In the same way, she doesn't go to where the disasters are. She doesn't go to where the invasions are. She doesn't go where things are being impacted. Case in point, the invasion happening at the southern border. It was her first time ever down there. Just last week or this week, one or the other. Yeah, her first time down there. She flew over the border. She flew over the invasion, over the disaster. Her and Joe don't go there. They can't step foot there. It's too icky. They don't want to get their feet wet. See, that's the thing, is now, granted, they didn't cause the devastation from the hurricane, obviously. But the devastation that they do cause, whether that's the massive illegal immigration, the murders, the crime, right, the smash and grabs, whatever is taking place that they've caused, because they don't want to have consequences, they want to defund the police, they don't want more police in inner cities, they want all these things to take place. Yeah, they don't ever go there. Oh, no, they could never step foot in there because it's too icky. It's too bad because they destroyed it. They destroyed it. Folks, you want to know how bad the response is from Joe Biden and Kamala Harris? Do you want to know how bad they are at their job? Even CNN, even CNN's going, yeah, it's pretty bad, Kamala Harris and Joe. I mean, Trump is really out there for the people. Yo, it's bad when CNN is complimenting Donald Trump.
Being treated not just as a former president, but almost as though he is a sitting president. As Boris, you just noted, getting a briefing from FEMA, getting a briefing from the National Guard. That is not something that is typically just offered to a candidate. They are treating him as though he is a former president who is there to help. And one thing that I had noticed earlier during our 1 p.m. conversation was that Donald Trump did not have that much to offer in terms of resources since he is not a sitting president. But I will note that he and the campaign say that they have arrived in that area with trucks full of supplies that they plan on giving out. So there is something there for them to offer. He also said that he had a tanker truck full of gasoline, which obviously, if you've ever covered one of these storms, you understand that one of the first things and hardest things to come by is gasoline. So he said that he was going to be giving that out. He is clearly taking this seriously as a politician is on the ground, trying to show that he is there in support of the people on the ground in Georgia.
So where's Joe? Where the hell's Joe? By the way, folks, if you haven't already, hit that like button. It really does support us. It helps push our videos out there to new viewers who haven't seen our content or our channel. Get the Bald Bread Army moving, baby. We got hundreds of people in here. Let's get those likes up. It'd be greatly appreciated, folks. It is absolutely free. It doesn't cost you a dime. Just costs you a push of a button. So Biden claims he was commanding. Oh, he was commanding the hurricane response away from Washington. It's called a telephone, he said. Yeah. He was allegedly on the phone. Yeah. President asserted on Monday he was commanding the hurricane response from the phone, despite not being in Washington, D.C. Oh, Joe, where are you at again? Oh, God, this guy sucks. So here he is. I don't mean to laugh. It's just, people voted for this guy.
Morning. To state the obvious, over the weekend, with devastating storms in the South. I spoke for a couple hours with leaders yesterday affected by this hurricane, and Governor Kemp of Georgia, Governor Cooper of North Carolina, county officials in the Big Bend region of Florida, and other leaders in South Carolina and Tennessee about the broad and devastating impacts of Hurricane Helene. It's not just a catastrophic storm, it's a historic, history-making storm. The entire Southeast and Appalachia. Damage from the hurricane stretches across at least 10 states. Winds over 120 miles an hour in some places. Storm surges up to 15 feet and record flooding. Communities are devastated. Loved ones waiting, not sure if their loved.
Okay, so it goes on for about 7 minutes because all Joe could stand. Joe can't stand for more than that time. So, yeah, he said he made a phone call, and it also goes on here to say on the hurricane, why weren't you and Vice President Harris here in Washington commanding this weekend? A reporter asked, to which Biden responded, I was commanding. I was on the phone for at least 2 hours yesterday and the day before as well. It's called a telephone call. It turns out that Joe Biden was just ordering Domino's and had no idea for himself. Hello? Hello? Yes, Mr. President, this is the White House kitchen. How can I help you? FEMA. I need you to get down to FEMA. Sir, do you need anything? This is the White House kitchen. For 2 hours, Joe was trying to figure it out. Now, you might be wondering, well, where's Kamala? That was Joe, Brad. That's all fine and dandy. Oh, well, she was working really hard, you guys. It says here, I was just briefed by FEMA. Oh, on the latest developments about the ongoing impacts of Hurricane Helene. Why the hell would FEMA call Kamala Harris? She doesn't fix anything. She destroys it. This is the complete opposite thing you should be doing. Don't call her. She'll make the thing worse. I know it's remarkable. Like, man, there's sheer devastation. Like, everything's underwater or sand and soil and dirt, and it's just completely dilapidated now. It's completely gone. How could she destroy it further? Don't even try it. She'll do it. She'll pull a miracle. We also discussed our administration's continued actions to support emergency response and recovery. Oh. While she's sitting there on her airplane with headphones in, pretending to write on a piece of paper with a nice cup of coffee, air conditioning. Sure. Why aren't you down there? Why weren't you down there? So you would think, oh, she's actually going to sit there and at FEMA, work with the press to really say, like, how we're helping people during disasters, like it says right behind her. You would think that she would actually take this moment to zoom in with the press for once and answer some people's questions. But she doesn't.
Madam Vice President.
Thank you. Come on, bro. This way. Let's go. This way. This way. This way.
Thanks so much.
Yo, please. People, millions are going to turn out in 4 weeks and vote for this lady. She can't answer a question. Donald Trump's there. Buildings falling apart around him. We're bringing in oil tankers, gasoline, food, water, diapers, everything. We're flying it in from the skies. I called Elon Musk. Musk is bringing in Starlink. Can you believe it, Starlink? She's sitting there with her thumb up her you-know-what. But don't worry, you guys. She did a photo op. Oh, good for her. In the same way she went down to the border for 20 minutes. I mean, Joe can't even figure out that there was a hurricane. Look, he just ignores the press, too. It's a common theme here with this administration, is it not? This is ignoring the press. When you ignore the press, guess who you're also ignoring? Yeah, the American people. Yes. Yeah. Most transparent administration that's ever existed, though, according to them.
Round incursion into Lebanon inevitable?
Time for a ceasefire.
Will you visit the hurricane site?
Will you respond to the missile attacks on the U.S. warships? Will you respond to the missile attacks on the U.S. warships in the Red Sea?
We're responding.
Wow, he actually got in the car by himself for once. If you don't know what I mean by that, there's been a couple videos that have circulated of Secret Service helping Joe Biden pick up his legs to get into the beast. So that's a thing. I'm reading what you guys wrote. That should be her campaign slogan. Oh, I can't say that. Can't say that here on the airwaves. So here it is on the hurricane. Why weren't you and VP Harris here in Washington commanding this weekend? And here he is saying that he was on the phone for a couple hours with Domino's.
Do you expect Iran to retaliate?
On the hurricane, Mr. President, why weren't you and Vice President Harris here in Washington commanding this weekend?
I was commanding. I was on the phone for at least 2 hours yesterday and the day before as well. I command. It's called a telephone. And all my security people.
Is it not important for the country to see?
And there he goes. Somebody should clip this and put like the the Office theme song. Ba-do-do-do, ba-do-do-do, do-do-do-do-do-do, do-do-do-do-do, do-do-do-do-do-do. Now, for a guy that's been in office his entire life, like 50 years, you would think that he would know hurricane's coming. We're in a election. It would be probably good to get my tushy down there so it looks like I at least care somewhat about Americans, but he won't. He can't, you guys. He's incapable of any sort of thought. And they might go, you know, Democrats are like, well, where's the receipts, Brad? You're saying that he's not doing anything. Well, that's not what CNN and MSNBC is telling me. Okay, fine. Well, let's hear then, because they can't type in buttons, folks. The liberals cannot, these snowflakes cannot type and use their keyboard. They don't know how to type. They're like iPad kids. Here's boots on the ground then, because again, they can't do the research themselves. Here's what the boots on the ground, the people that are underwater, Joe, are saying.
Asheville, among the hardest hit tonight, remains largely cut off from relief, frustrating residents.
Nobody's going to help us. I mean, I don't know what we're going to do.
Do you have any faith in the federal response here?
No.
Ricky and Devonna Brown's auto shop has been in this location for 30 years.
It's just devastating. I mean, it's just hard to see. I mean, it's just hard to come and look at. You know what I mean? This is your whole life right here. And it's these old buildings to somebody. But to us, this is our life.
Asheville,
Don't worry, guys. I can't even say with a straight face. Kamala Harris is going to fix it. People believe it. People believe it. Oh, she's going to solve all your problems. She's doing so good, isn't she? I mean, Trump's actually acting like a president. He's meeting with Zelensky. He's talking to freaking people to figure out problems. He's talking to Netanyahu over there in Israel. I mean, this guy's sending disaster relief. He's on the boots on the ground. He's talking about the American people, what we can do to fix things. So here's Harris campaign co-chair Chris Coons misrepresents the facts, claims Donald Trump called Putin a very good friend. So they have to lie about the guy to make him look bad, whereas Kamala Harris has to lie to make herself look good and make Donald Trump look bad, and to pretend like she's actually doing something. So typical of her type of these surrogates coming out and saying this type of crazy nonsense.
I'm glad they met. It's important that there be conversations between President Zelensky and both Republican and Democratic leaders of our nation and candidates to be the next president of our nation. But in the clip that you're showing right now, President Trump said, I'm a very good friend of Putin's. And you could see Zelensky sort of stiffen up and go, well, I hope you're a better friend of Ukraine than you are a friend of Russia under Putin. So it was a strikingly awkward moment.
Completely lied, by the way. Completely lied there. It's astonishing. Folks, that's not what Trump said. President Trump stated that he has a good relationship with Zelensky and Putin. But this is what they get away with. This is what they get away with. Drives you up a wall, man. It really drives you up a wall. Now, because Democrats tend to be clueless and you're a second-class citizen in your own country and they don't want to sit there and have actual any sort of coherent thought or action based on things that could impact Americans, because all their efforts are going towards Ukraine or sitting there sending $10 billion to the Iranians that have now attacked our military personnel and our allies and stuff like that. Well, they're not even watching out, folks, for the dock worker strike that's going to take place today. I have a video clip of the lead guy on this. This is not something that people do not need to be screwed around with this. This is some serious stuff. Commerce Secretary Gina Raimondo says she's not very focused on the dock worker strike. Shit. She was asked about the strike during an appearance on Monday. Where have you been kind of focus? Where have you been kind of focused and hearing on what would happen if the strike goes, let's say, longer than a week? Again, I have not been very focused on that. Oh, goody. That's lovely. So we got that clip here. Let's play that for all of us. I haven't seen it myself, but I'd love to see how this lady, shows her lack of care in anything.
Where have you been kind of focused and hearing on what would happen if the strike goes, let's say, longer than a week?
Again, I have not been very focused on that.
Where have you been kind of focused and hearing?
Now, we covered that yesterday, right? You're going to be impacted because basically all these longshoremen, these guys on the docks, you're not going to have any goods. They'll be imported, but they're not going to be put on any trucks. There's not going to be any shipping of these goods. It's going to affect Christmas. It's going to affect coffee. It's going to affect possibly your toilet paper. We also what happened during COVID where people were trying to sit there and wipe their tushies with nothing. So here's the guy. Here's the guy talking about the president of the dock workers from Maine all the way to Texas, the entire East Coast and Southeast. Here's what he had to say. Listen carefully, Democrats. This is not something you want to mess with. The guy even sounds like a mob boss. Listen, yo, Tommy, you need some protection, Tommy. You need some protection. The money's what's going to attack you, Tommy. Okay? All right, Joey? Joey, you listening?
People today don't know what a strike is. Right. When my men hit the streets from Maine to Texas, every single port will lock down. You know what's going to happen? I'll tell you. First week,
we'll put one in your kneecap. Then I'll tell you next what's going to happen. We're going to put one right there in the kisser.
Be all over the news every night, boom, boom. Second week, guys who sell cars can't sell cars because the cars ain't coming in off the ships. They get laid off. Third week, malls start closing down. They can't get the goods from China. They can't sell clothes. They can't do this. Everything in the United States comes on a ship. They go out of business. Construction workers get laid off because the materials aren't coming in. The steel's not coming in. The lumber's not coming in. They lose their job. Everybody's hating the longshoremen now because now they realize how important our jobs are. Now I have the president screaming at me, I'm putting a Taft-Hartley on you. Go ahead. Taft-Hartley means I have to go back to work for 90 days. That's a cooling off period. Do you think when I go back for 90 days, those men are going to go to work on that pier? It's going to cost the company's money to pay their salaries. Well, they went from 30 moves an hour maybe to 8. They're going to be like this. Who's going to win here in the long run? You're better off sitting down and let's get a contract and let's move on with this world. And in today's world, I'll cripple you. I will cripple you, and you have no idea what that means. Nobody does.
I mean, could you be any more clear? I'm going to cripple you. I'm going to sit there and take out your knees. I'm going to choke you. So that was the president of the dock workers, and it's going to impact all of you on the East Coast, and now's not the time, man. With the hurricane taking place, you got the election here. They got to figure out and work out a contract because things are going to go south big time. And there's talks that that's going to wrap around all the way to the West Coast as well. And then you got everything shut down. And by the way, it takes time to sit there and, get that catch up like we saw during COVID. Remember, I live right there next to Long Beach. I've never seen that many tankers out there my entire life. I mean, it looked like a parking lot, just hundreds of ships. It was crazy. I mean, It would look like what an invasion would look like during wartime. They're just parked out there for months on end because they couldn't bring in the ships. And then it took them months and months to sit there and rifle through all of it. And, well, we finally got up to speed. Now, if you're enjoying what you're seeing, folks, hit that like and subscribe button. Again, it really does support the channel. We're looking for your love and support. And we also like to give some love and support ourselves to those out there that sponsor us. So we'll make sure we get you some sponsor reads like this one. I want to talk about the things that people are afraid to talk about. Who is in control of America's nukes, folks? It ain't Joe Biden. I mean, Joe Biden ain't even in control of his own bowels. Meanwhile, we have Russian ships off the coast of Florida and full-blown wars in Ukraine and Israel, and maybe even some more stuff happening with Lebanon and Israel. The world is at its most unstable point since probably World War II. And with nuclear weapons, the stakes are 10 times higher. How do you people, meaning American people, like, and how do you stay safe during these times of war, times of tragedy? Every prepper needs to have a RadioGuard ACE, the only FDA-approved drug that treats radioactive fallout. Only the feds had it until now, folks. That's why Rumble's partnered with 5G Free, the only company in the world that has a supply of RadioGuard ACE and the ability to prescribe it prophylactically. Get this radio emergency kit with RadioGuard ACE, potassium iodide, Zofran, and a Geiger counter. There's simply no other tool in the arsenal to protect against radioactive threat. There's been a lot of talks of China performing some sort of foolery as well. Go to 5g.com code studio, 5g.com code studio to save 15% off to get your radiation kit now, folks. We talked about them in the past. We want to make sure you're prepared, almost like a doomsday prepper. We also talked about the free solar panels over there at forpatriot.com. So make sure you check both of those out and take care of yourself. Like that guy said, take care of yourself. Speaking of taking care of yourself, well, folks, we need to sit there and vote appropriately because the Democrats are at it once again with the elections. They're at it once again. We called it just like they did in 2020, just like they did in 2016, but really mostly in 2020. Check this out. You have Gavin Newsom. Got a nice little tweet here for you. Gavin Newsom. Maybe I should zoom out just a wee bit here. Gavin Newsom, governor of California, enacts law banning voter ID requirements. Oh, lovely. Oh, just lovely, Gavin. Thank you so much. Governor signs a law to ban local voter ID requirements. Why? Because they know where these are coming from. Governor Gavin Newsom signed a bill into law on Thursday, and we got a lot of election news here, folks, that bars local governments from enacting laws to require residents to show a valid form of identification in order to vote. Why? Because they have thousands and thousands of illegal immigrants voting in this current election. How do we know that? Well, there's people in the courts right now from 2016 and 2020 that are being prosecuted for identity theft or voting illegally. We've seen the observation. People were willing to even say, yeah, I voted when I shouldn't have. We just saw a video last week of an illegal immigrant saying, yeah, I'm a registered voter. Texas just removed 6,000 people, 6,000 or 9,000 people off their voter registration rolls that were illegal voters. You have Nevada, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and some others being sued by the GOP for not cleaning up their voter registration rolls. The law is directed in response to a ballot initiative approved by voters in the coastal California city of Huntington Beach. In March, 53% of residents voted to adopt a ballot measure that requires all residents who want to cast a ballot in the municipal elections to show a valid ID. So if you guys know anything about Huntington Beach, it's very conservative. That's where they have a lot of the Trump flags going around, a lot of caravans down there on Main Street. Cool place to visit, by the way. I go walk down there every now and then. It's also where James Klug does his street interviews every now and then. So they were trying to get this stuff passed because they didn't want people that weren't legal citizens to be having representation for things that they shouldn't have representation for because they're not citizens. But the measure runs afoul of state law. After it passed, well, you had the Attorney General, a Democrat, of course, and another secretary, Weber, sued the city to block officials from enforcing it. The right to freely cast your vote is the foundation of our democracy, and Huntington Beach's voter ID policy flies in the face of this principle. If you think it's just California, folks, you are sorely mistaken. We looked at Arizona. We looked at a lot of states together. that sat there and said, hey, you know what? When you fill out that voter absentee ballot or that voter registration form, to be more specific, it don't matter. And so the Democrats are actively going out to make sure that illegal immigrants can vote. Look at this. Justice Department sues Alabama. We have Alabama residents in the chat right now over efforts to remove non-citizens from voter rolls. You can't make this up. You can't make it up. The Justice Department sued Alabama on Friday over its efforts to clean up its voter registration rolls. I told you the foozery was going to happen, did I not? So Alabama's trying to do the right thing, going, yeah, we need to clean up our voter registration rolls. We got dead people that are still in it. We got people that are illegal aliens that somehow are in our voter registration rolls. Yeah, we want to clean it up. Nope. Joey's not allowing that to happen, or is just this department ain't allowing it to happen. So, and ensure that non-citizens are not registered to vote. Notice the media does not cover this. Do you notice the media does not ask Tim Walz, Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, Jen Psaki, hey, why are you suing Alabama to make sure that non-citizens aren't on their voter registration rolls like they're trying to clean it up? Why are you guys doing that? Notice there's no questions whatsoever about things like that. Weird. The lawsuit comes after Alabama Secretary of State announced an effort last month to remove non-citizens from the state's voter rolls. You would think that's something everybody could get behind, Democrat and Republican. By the way, if there was a non-citizen voting Republican, I would still want them off the voter registration roll. It goes both directions. In its lawsuit, the DOJ said that the effort violated federal law because the National Voter Registration Act restricts actions states can take within 90 days of the federal election. The right to vote is one of the most sacred rights in our democracy. Yeah, but it's a constitutional republic. And through this democracy that we have, it's people that need to be represented on behalf of somebody else. But the people that are represented are actually the citizens of the country. We all know what they're doing. We're not idiots. We know exactly what they're doing. Look at this. As of August 13th, 84 days before the November 5th election, Allen said that Alabama officials had identified over 3,000 people on the voter registration rolls with non-citizen identification numbers assigned to them by the Department of Homeland Security. Oh, weird how that name pops up constantly, right? You mean the same Department of Homeland Security that is headed by DHS Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas that lied to Congress, specifically Jim Jordan, a handful of times that said the border was secure? You mean the same guy that lied about everything regarding the border and allowed millions of people to pour across, and now somehow some of them are on our voter registration rolls? Somehow they're going to vote in our election? Somehow they're sitting there taking our jobs? Somehow they're sitting there taking our housing and increasing the price of everything to go up? Weird how that all is happening, huh? Really weird. Oh, you think we're done? Oh, no, you think we're done? We're not done with the election stuff. Of course not, you guys. Of course not. Check this out. 218,000 people in Arizona who did not provide the state-required citizenship documents are on the voter registration rolls. Oh, okay. God, it sounds like Arizona's in contention and almost one of those swing states slightly to sit there and go either direction. 218,000.
Now, this new data set, as they're calling it, brings the total number of people impacted to 218,000 instead of the 98,000 we first reported. These people were mistakenly marked as having provided documentary proof of citizenship. And Arizona voter registration database now has correctly flagged the impacted individuals. Election officials say they will contact the affected Arizonans with information regarding their status after the general election. Status after the general election. The affected Arizonans with information regarding their status after the general election. Their status after the general election.
No big deal. We'll allow them to vote anyways. We'll clean it up after. Oh, lovely.
That means for now, the Arizona Supreme Court's ruling is going to stay that impacted voters, that includes all of them, will still be able to vote.
Yeah. Oh, this is great. Oh, goody. Oh, there is interference. Yeah, Miriam, there's definitely foreign interference. Why don't we get to that? It's funny how that was my next segment here, talking about elections. Trump says Democrats are interfering with their campaign. And check this out. Still, I'm going to lose it. I'm going to keep it together here for you. Still not providing enough Secret Service agents. They want this guy dead, folks. You had Democrats in Congress that if Trump were thrown in prison, want to remove his Secret Service detail. They want this guy dead. Former President Donald Trump alleged on Monday that Democrats are interfering in his 2024 White House bid by rejecting his campaign request for more security. According to Donald Trump and the intelligence that's coming out, there's hit teams right now in the United States present time. Hit teams, not these nut jobs with long hair and glasses that are on rooftops that are slanted and can't hit a target from 50 yards away or 150. No, these are actual trained people. And they still don't want to give him the security. Trump wrote on Truth Social that his campaign has been forced to turn away thousands of people from arenas and venues because his requests for more Secret Service agents have not been met. The Republican nominee was the target of 2 assassination attempts within 64 days. The Democrats are interfering with my campaign by not giving us the proper number of people within Secret Service that are necessary for security. They're using them for themselves, even though they don't need them. They draw flies because they have no crowds. And for people like the president of Iran, who is doing everything possible to kill me, we need more Secret Service, and we need them now. It is election interference that we have to turn away thousands of people from arenas and venues because it is not being provided to us. But that won't be covered, right? They're not going to talk about this. I mean, it is remarkable that you've had a guy sat there and get 2 assassination attempts, right? That doesn't even include the plots on his life in 64 days, and the media just memory hole it. That's not a big deal. We don't even want to talk about it. Can you imagine if it was a right-wing person doing that to a Democrat? You would hear it relentlessly. How do I know that? Look at January 6th. I mean, these Democrats, these liberals think the government was actually being overran. Do we even need to keep rehashing this out? They think that the government was being overran. The United States was, the whole system was being overran by a few thousand people when you have the strongest military force that God's ever seen, ever created. And they ran the 6 minutes of footage out of the 40,000 hours constantly. But it's amazing they don't want to sit there and talk about this. I do have a quick update for you from yesterday's show, folks. Elon Musk and RFK Jr. blast John Kerry, who complained that the First Amendment stands as a major block. We did talk about this yesterday, if you recall. Elon Musk and RFK Jr. and more blasted former Democrat presidential candidate John Kerry, who said during a recent event that the First Amendment stands as a major block to stamping out disinformation. Remember, he was at the World Economic Forum on green energy, and he said basically that we need to sit and stop people from speaking. They're putting out disinformation and misinformation. All that means is that they're putting out information that they don't like, which is astonishing because isn't that what Kamala Harris and Joe Biden do all the time, and Tim Walz? Donald Trump created Project 2025. He's totally involved in it. That's actually disinformation because she knows it isn't true. It's not misinformation. It's not like she didn't know. Maybe Joe could play that card because he doesn't know anything. He doesn't know what day it is. He doesn't know his name. He doesn't know his wife's name. He doesn't know his general's name. He gets lost. He gets lost around the White House. He thinks he's calling FEMA on the phone for 2 hours. Like I said, he's talking to the White House kitchen staff. He don't have a clue. Kamala Harris, she knows what's going on. I understand she's a dodo bird, but she still knows what's going on. So here's Elon Musk, and John Kerry is saying he wants to violate the Constitution. Of course. Democrats have been saying this for years, Elon. They want to chisel at your First Amendment rights. We've been saying it here for years as well. They want to sit there and confiscate your firearms. Joe Biden is on tape saying, I want to remove all semi-automatic firearms. Remember how before they say that they played that wish-washy game of, assault weapons. We want to put in an assault weapons ban. Yeah, that's just the way to obfuscate the actual thing they want to do, which is take away your semi-automatic firearms. For some weird-ass reason, they keep talking about fully automatics, which are already illegal, by the way, unless you carry a very specific type of license. You also have other people coming out right here where, again, he said John Kerry is saying he wants to violate the Constitution But it was also followed up in a second post agreeing with another person who wrote that if former President Donald Trump loses the election, it will be the last one, and they will destroy the Constitution. There might be some truth to that. Former President Democrat turned independent presidential candidate RFK wrote, John Kerry is correct. The First Amendment does stand as a major roadblock to them right now. Correct. Jordan B. Peterson of the Daily Wire said, I don't know how John Kerry could say such things without bursting into flames. It's sad, man. It's sad seeing the direction that we're going in. It's very sad to see the direction we're going in. You got wars happening all around the Middle East now, with Israel pounding Hezbollah with airstrikes. You also have this taking place. Where is it at? Israel's preparing for imminent invasion into southern Lebanon. But don't worry, guys. Joe Biden's going to make a phone call. He's going to handle it for all of you. He's going to fix it. He's going to sit there and increase taxes, but that's supposed to benefit you and help all of you guys. See how all this works? It's all make-believe. It's all scripted, folks. It's literally an episode from The Office, and we're all sitting here as viewers being reamed from behind having to watch it. And there's millions of people that will go out of their way to continue to screw you and your family over with their vote. And by the way, there's a lot of illegal immigrants that will do the exact same thing. And Democrats love it. Why? Democrats love it because it's going to vote for them. It's going to go in their direction is why. It's sad. You're seeing in real time the crippling of this country, folks. The crippling of this country. We will be live tonight. If you didn't know, again, we will be live tonight, folks, for the election, the presidential debate, the vice presidential debate to be exact. We will be live for that. We're going to go live probably about 30, 45 minutes early. And we'll hopefully have a bingo card. And Tim Walz is going to come out, folks. He's going to come out big. So don't think he's going to be a bumbling idiot like you thought he was. Look at a lot of his old interviews. The guy can be sharp at times. So hopefully JD Vance is prepared. There was articles saying that they are prepared for it, meaning the Trump team, they're ready to go. And they know that he's probably going to come out swinging. So they are going to be prepared, folks. If you haven't already, hit that like and subscribe button. If you could become a member, it would help us greatly. We're trying to grow the Bald Brad Army. It is 99 cents a month, folks. It really does help. We're trying to get more people on our team to help me out. I'm one man doing three jobs, and then doing this as a hobby. So your money is going towards the channel and helping it grow and helping me out. So 99 cents, $4.99, $9.99, or jump over to Rumble. It would be greatly appreciated. We also have a website, baldbrad.com, where you can make a donation. Don't feel like you have to, but we are asking for your support so we can, get things rocking and rolling. With that being said, folks, have a blessed day. Take care of yourselves. I will see you tonight for the VP debate, folks. With that being said, take care, Patriots.